So here's the interesting thing. We're all waiting for the budget iPhone SE 4th gen, but instead we got a completely new model in Apple's lineup. And I've been actively using this device for about a month now, back and forth, and I've got several interesting things to tell. But first of all, this is a brand new iPhone 16e from Apple. It's sort of a replacement for the budget SE model, which was priced at $429. They're marketing this as an entry-level budget-friendly phone, but the price though suggests otherwise. It starts at $600 before tax. $600. It's no longer a budget smartphone, but still, this is technically the cheapest new iPhone that you can get from Apple. So what does the E stand for? Eco, entry, or maybe expensive? I would argue it stands for empty because it feels rather empty inside. No magnets, just one old camera, the slowest charging speed, no millimeter wave support. This is literally yesterday's tech at tomorrow's price. In a nutshell, the 16e is essentially an iPhone 14, and in fact, the clear case from the iPhone 14 fits just perfectly. So they took leftover iPhone 14 components, put it kind of new hardware, removed one camera, and boom, sort of new product. The only changes are two holes, one for the action button and the other for the USB-C port. And as a result, the 16e means no lightning anymore. That era has come to an end, as well as no iPhones with Touch ID. The SE 3rd gen was the last to feature that, and now it's all Face ID, which, to be real, is always a positive. So releasing this product with this price tag, they kind of push it towards some more expensive ones, the iPhone 16, let's say. You get a bunch of more stuff in there. It's like this iPhone is not even designed to be sold as an actual product, just designed to make the more expensive iPhones look like better deals. But on the other hand, this device essentially has all the essentials you might need. Face ID, a 48 megapixel camera, an action button, Apple Intelligence, the AI from Apple, which honestly very few seem to fully utilize. And the most no-brainer feature to me is its superior battery life, surpassing even the 15 Pro Max. This is perhaps its main feature. Apple has stripped away all unnecessary components from the iPhone 14's internal, prioritizing a larger battery, and frankly, that wasn't a bad decision. If you look at the internals, it's immediately clear that removing one camera has freed up a lot of space, allowing for a battery larger than that of the iPhone 16 or 16 Pro. We'll get into that in just a sec, but yeah, I know, of course, the lack of ultra-wide camera kinda sucks. Furthermore, it houses the top-tier processor almost on par with the iPhone 16, in that idiotic combination of 60Hz display and 3nm chip. Like, what? Who is this very strange piece for? But nevertheless, yeah, all of that functions quite well, and this is likely what the average user truly needs. So all in all, that's how the most budget-friendly iPhone looks like. Budget-friendly if you consider $600 to be in that category. However, it's pleasing to know that the base storage now starts at 128 gigs rather than the previous 64 gigs. And then when looking at higher storage configurations, such as the half terabyte version, you're looking at a hefty price of $900, man. And in actual fact, this could have been a truly wonderful device. Had Apple priced it at $500, so $100 less, at that price point, it would have been a game changer, flying off the shelves. I firmly believe they would have nailed it, creating a standout product, but alas, that's not the reality we're faced with. As for the contents of the box, everything is as expected. Super simple. The wallpaper on the packaging actually serves a subtle nod to the camera setup, with one circle indicating a single camera on the device. Inside, you'll find all the good stuff. First and foremost, you see the color option, which are limited to two choices, matte black and matte white. Both colors look really premium, leaving no hint of a budget feel, and the black one in particular immediately won me over. It's timeless and slick. You can never go wrong with the black one. While I initially leaned towards the white version, which also looks sick and elegant, but the black, it's undeniably a classic. As for the rest of the box, you'll find a USB-C cable. It's braided, which is cool and beautiful. So of course now USB-C. It's a welcome upgrade from the Lightning port, which we saw on the SE model. We've now entirely adopted to the USB-C. By the way, we've got a wireless charging, obviously. We'll get into that shortly as well. And of course, usual user manuals and warranty information. So no Apple stickers marking the end of that tradition, and that's about it. There's nothing interesting to expect in the box. Aside from that, you know, it looks and feels really cool. The matte black finish and black aluminum design with a matte back that stands out, especially considering matte backs were not always featured in budget iPhones. Here, Apple has done a commendable job. The design looks good overall, with a glass rear, although the exact type of glass remains unspecified, because Apple didn't really provide any info on that. Here we just have the one tricky camera, 48 megapixels, more on that in just a second. We've got the aluminum edges. Additionally, the inclusion of the customizable action button is a noteworthy touch. You can assign it to perform any function you'd like. Of course, no camera control, which is for the 16 and 16 Pro models, but personally, I don't find myself using it all that much. So you're not missing out on much. You can always set the action button to launch the camera. It's easy to customize, which is nice. By the way, this USB-C, while it's certainly a welcome addition, it's unfortunately limited, like I mentioned before, to the slower 2.0 standard. As you might see from the front, the device features a 6.1-inch screen protected by the last generation ceramic shield. However, the iPhone 16 has a newer version of this shield, which should offer slightly more brick and scratch protection. This display is now 120Hz refresh rate. Wait, what? Just kidding. Unfortunately, still 60Hz, and you know, in 2025, 60Hz hurts so much. In comparing with the 16 Pro, I could tell that choppy difference right away. But aside from that, it's a Super Retina XDR display, OLED panel by the way, so the OLED is great. That's a notable upgrade from the SE series, which never included OLED. While it's a welcome addition, it doesn't achieve the same peak brightness as the iPhone 16's displays, which can reach up to 2000 nits outdoors. This one peaks at 1200 nits. Nevertheless, on the plus side, we now have a Face ID, which is cool, but no always on, no dynamic island, no nothing. Instead, it's just the standard notch versus dynamic islands on the iPhone 15 and 16s, and there's no any features with the notch. It simply houses the front camera and Face ID sensors. Additionally, the bezels here are slightly thicker compared to those on the iPhone 15 and 16, but the 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max obviously take the slimmer bezels to a whole another level, which I'm a huge fan of. But anyways, it's not a major issue, though dynamic island could have been a nice touch, especially for certain apps. Of course, much like its predecessors, this iPhone is well equipped to endure water immersion, including in salt water. It holds an IP68 rating for both water and dust resistance, meaning it can withstand submersion at a maximum depth of 6 meters for up to 30 minutes under controlled conditions. But I wouldn't advise using it for underwater filming, as it's not intended to function like a GoPro. However, if you accidentally drop it in the sea or get caught in the rain, simply drive the speakers and it should be fine. And overall, iPhones typically handle water immersion pretty well, especially during the first 2 years of usage. One notable omission in the new iPhone 16e is that there is no MagSafe. MagSafe is a distinctive feature that allows users to attach various accessories such as cases, wallets, and other things, but the metal within the chassis itself still allows accessories to magnetically attach to it. While it may not adhere with complete reliability, but the charging connection, at the very least, will no longer detach as effortlessly as, let's say, with the most recent Samsung model, which by the way also lacks magnets. While the lack of magnets might initially seem like a drawback, Apple has compensated by equipping the 16e with a larger battery, offering one of the most impressive battery lives in terms of size and endurance comparable to the larger iPhone models, including the Plus and Max models. Of course, that's a very welcome addition, and we'll get into that in just a second. So MagSafe remains an Apple signature feature that was first introduced with the iPhone 12. It seemed like it would be integrated into all Apple devices moving forward, becoming a valuable quality of life enhancement. The ability to magnetically attach chargers, secure your phone to MagSafe compatible car mounts, or simply utilize the standby mode to create an alarm clock-like experience on your nightstand has become a convenient bonus for many users. No, in fact, when I watched the announcement of this piece, I didn't perceive any significant issues with the lack of MagSafe. I thought pragmatic individuals typically opt for budget smartphones and they'll undoubtedly put a case on it. And which case these days doesn't include MagSafe? You're right, the original one. Seriously, when we look at the original Apple case priced at $40, there are no magnets in it. How could one possibly sell an accessory without MagSafe in 2025? Why? It seems that Apple has intentionally excluded this feature, likely in an effort to encourage users to spend an additional $200 and upgrade to the pricier models, particularly those who prioritize MagSafe functionality. But anyways, thankfully there's a ton of third-party cases with magnets, which is certainly a welcome alternative. As for the wireless charging, unfortunately it operates at a mere 7.5 watts, and there's nothing that can be done to improve this. The package includes only a braided USB-C cable, through which, as Apple claims, the iPhone charges at up to 30 watts. In reality, however, it peaks at around 25-26 watt at best. Additionally, the device is equipped with the older Wi-Fi 6 standard, meaning it doesn't support Wi-Fi 7. Despite the shortcomings of the 16e, it remains a solid iPhone, as there are factors more crucial than slow charging, primarily battery life and connectivity. A major highlight of this device is the newly developed C1 modem, Apple's proprietary in-house creation signaling the end of Qualcomm's involvement in providing modems for their phone. The C1 modem not only plays a pivotal role in extending the battery life, but also dictates the speed and reliability with which the phone connects to cellular networks. Developing this modem was obviously a monumental challenge for Apple. It took them several years, billions of dollars, and the acquisition of Intel's cellular modem division to bring into fruition. The outcome is highly energy-efficient modem, designed to minimize power consumption. Apple's strategy of manufacturing many of their components in-house, much like with their Apple Silicon chips and MacBooks, makes perfect sense in this context. Given its efficiency, one can only expect further improvements, and its debut in the 16E is a clear indication that it'll be featured in the future models, including the 17 and 17 Pro. And according to Apple, this modem is the fastest available on the market at present, a factor that could be a decisive one for some buyers. Furthermore, Apple promises it offers superior energy efficiency compared to other modems, which essentially means that connectivity in the 16E consumes significantly less power, and on top of that, when combined with a larger battery, the overall picture becomes remarkably favorable. And therein lies the brilliance of this device. It excels in a way that no other iPhone product in its class can match. It boasts an exceptional battery life. To put it simply, it has the battery life of like big phones, plus and max-sized models. Yet it retains the compact form of a standard 6.1-inch phone, and from my point of view, in 2025 for an entry-level offering, battery life is an absolutely pivotal feature. Like, how many people really asking for faster screens and phones at this price range? Most are simply seeking extended battery performance, and this device unquestionably delivers on that front. The method by which this is achieved involves several key factors. To start, it houses around 4000 mAh battery. To put into perspective, this is larger than the battery found in both the iPhone 16 and the 15, and it's actually more capacious than the one in the iPhone 14. You may wonder how such a sizable battery fits into the iPhone 16e, especially when casing appears identical to that of the 14. Thanks to the removal of one of those two cameras, allowing for a reconfigured interior that fits a quite larger battery, and in this instance, the sacrifice certainly worthwhile for sure. In daily usage, this phone can easily achieve at least 8-9 hours of screen on time, and if usage is kept moderate, it can even last up to 2 full days. This is a substantial improvement over the iPhone 14, 15, and 16 models, and in fact, the 16e offers battery longevity comparable to the iPhone 15 Pro Max, despite its more compact size. This, without a doubt, is its standout feature. It's much smaller in form factor, and I'm not quite sure if Apple originally planned for this smartphone to be like this, but it's definitely a no-brainer battery life for such a small piece. Undoubtedly, this achievement is not solely attributed to the fat capacity of the battery. The energy efficiency of the cutting-edge chip, and like I previously mentioned, the modem from Apple play pivotal roles here. This combination provides marginally better connection quality and crucially enhances energy efficiency. And the energy efficiency is indeed the predominant feature of this new device. And of course, the chip inside, specifically the A18 chip, which is shared across now every iPhone that you can get, that also shares much in common with the one in the iPhone 16, but in a slightly reduced version, there is one GPU core that's less on the 16e. Does this noticeably impact gaming performance? I wouldn't say so. You frankly won't notice any perceptible difference in performance, both in benchmarks and gaming. It's just a killer chip offering superb energy efficiency for everyday tasks. All the same games run just as smoothly as on the iPhone 16. I suspect you may experience a slight difference during like extended gaming sessions, but this situation reminds me of the recent iPad mini 7, where the chip was similarly scaled down. Nonetheless, in practical terms, everything still runs seamlessly, and I'm confident that this smartphone is not primarily intended for gaming. Furthermore, this device is equipped with 8 gigs of RAM, primarily dedicated to enhancing Apple Intelligence features. Do I use it that much? Personally, no. However, what I find most useful is its visual intelligence capabilities. For instance, this magnetic stand, we press this button, search, boom, you found it. It's simple yet effective and particularly convenient for when you travel and stuff like that. The next significant part for any iPhone tends to be around its camera system. And in this case, it features a singular sensor on the rear. It's a 48 megapixel aperture f1.6. However, don't get fooled. Many people assumed it will be akin to the one in the iPhone 16. Unfortunately, it's not the same sensor. It's actually smaller than those found in iPhone 15 and 16 models. They kinda tried to hide this detail, they just said it has the same resolution. Other than that, while Apple's presents it as a 2-in-1 camera system, but it has just one camera, capable of 2x optical zoom. There's no ultra-wide-angle lens, which means no macro, a feature present in both the iPhone 15 and 16. Yeah, the lack of ultra-wide-angle lens is of course disappointing, as many users frequently rely on it. For some people that might be a problem, though it is still possible to manage without the second camera because the primary camera is excellent. And overall, when it comes to image quality, there's no like crazy significant difference compared to even with the 16 Pro. Despite 1x on the Pro is a bit wider, whatever reason, 16e turns out a tiny contrasty, which I kind of like. So overall, it produces goodish pictures. Yeah, there's might be a slight color temperature difference, though it keeps up quite well. And you might say that's because of the daylight conditions. But interestingly, low light night pictures turns out quite comparable as well. Here the 16 Pro is definitely cleaner with more detail. Of course, they're not as good as it could be, and this one is also get the same results. So for the basic snaps, that main camera on the 16e is more than enough. Front-facing shooter is the same as on the iPhone 16, 12 megapixel aperture f1.9. Shots look good overall. It kinda has photographic styles, but I would call it just basic LUTs, because you cannot customize the colors as deep as you can do on the 16 Pro. No spatial photos and videos, no LiDAR scanner, no Apple Pro, no Apple Lock, no cinematic mode for videos, shallow depth of field. Those aspects are not crucial to me, but thankfully 4K 60 is still available, delivering solid image quality, and frankly, it outperforms any Android flagship smartphone when it comes to video. However, unfortunately, it lacks stabilization. I consider it to be one of Apple's standard camera features, again, 15 and 16 had it, where the actual sensor moves to stabilize the footage, especially on shaky shots, which is incredibly useful. In contrast, this phone only has basic optical image stabilization, which is not that bad, but it doesn't have the action mode that compensates for significant shake. On the iPhone 16, we have sensor shift optical image stabilization, and the 16 Pro lineup boasts second-gen sensor shift optical image stabilization. But on this phone, we got none of those, which is certainly disappointing. That's pretty much the new budget iPhones. All in all, the 16e is like the small popcorns and small drinks at movie theaters that trying to make the medium and large options look like attractive deals. And I bet this 16e at $600 is just a setup for future price rising of a base iPhone models. That's just their reality. In just one camera, 60Hz entry-level phone for Apple means $600 USD in 2025. Over the years, I found out that Apple products only start to make sense when they're a few years old, because the real replacement for the SE will be the 16e in 1 year, when the 17e comes out. But for now, those $600 for a budget phone for all the shortcomings is ridiculous. The strip downs are a lot, and it goes up to $900. I don't know. Also, I've seen deals on iPhone 16 as low as $650, so unless this starts getting mad discounts after a few months, this phone doesn't make any sense. It could have been decent at $500, it could have been a hit, like phone of the year. It would definitely be more appealing. No MagSafe still make no sense except to make someone buy the normal 16. By the way, iPhone 15 Pro refurbished value just went up crazy. For $600 something, I would just get that one personally. Way better solid device. 120Hz display, titanium frame, dynamic island, triple camera system, magnets, fast USB-C, bunch of more stuff. But anyways, we got it. Like I said, the point of this 16e is not actually to sell them, but to make the 16 models look good and sell those. But on the other hand, if you totally don't care about those features like MagSafe and extra cameras and you never need that, all you need is just that long-ass better life and better signal for as cheap as possible for the new piece and just basic set of features, then this iPhone definitely takes the cake. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this new budget-friendly iPhone, and yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.